Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey now, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Be Legend Ragnarok, and it's from designer Mark Laufer. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page. I'm going to have a link at the bottom of your screen now, and at the end of the video, and then also down in the description section of the video. That will take you to the official page. Find out more information and hopefully consider backing the project. Now, what is Be Legend Ragnarok? It is a competitive game for up to 4 players. The storyline of the game is that all life on Earth has been wiped out, and these collectors, these people like an alien race of some sort, are trying to piece together all of the information they had from Earth's history to find out who the greatest heroes are. Unfortunately, it is hard to separate fact from fiction and to find out who actually was the most victorious. So they run these simulations where the simulations are Earth's greatest heroes, whether fictional or not, and put them against each other to figure out who is the most victorious. And in this set, it is the heroes of Norse mythology, like Loki, Odin, Thor, Freya, Fenrir, and all of the rest. You are competing against each other in the arena in order to grab your competitors' emblems, signifying that you are the best of the best. Let me go ahead and give you a brief overview of how the game is played with a prototype version of the game. So some things may change in the final edition of the game. Then we're going to come back. I'll let you know my final thoughts. Okay, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of Be Legend Ragnarok. This is a competitive game for up to 4 players, and that is the amount of players that I have set up out here. I've got 4. Now, each player at the beginning is going to choose a different character from Norse mythology that they're going to play. So, out here on the table right now, I have Freya. And just to show you what's on the character sheet here, you have different spots that will tell you where you can leave your cards. Then you're gonna the different cards you have in the game, and I'll get to those. Then you have a little brief chapter story about the character and their role in this storyline. And then you have the details of their unique ability cards, which I'll also get to in a minute. So these are actually the 2 unique abilities that will be listed are actually cards that will be in your own personal deck that you'll have access to. So there's Freya, and then you have Surt, who is the Lord of the Fire Giants, if my mythology serves me well. Then you have Fenrir, it's like the Dark Wolf God. And the last one I have out here, of course, is Thor. But there's actually 8 total characters in just this base game. So you also have Hel, Hurja, Odin, of course, and Loki, also, of course. Now, in addition to your character sheet, you're going to have a few other things as well. You're going to have a player pawn that you're going to put out onto the board in your realm spot that is directly in front of wherever you're seated. And on that realm spot, you're going to have cards that are called emblems that you use not only to denote where your realm is, but also that is the goal of the game. The other players want to take your emblems from you. So you'll always have your own emblem out there, but you may also, when players land on an undefended spot, they're going to be able to take one of your emblems, and if you can get all 3 of your opponent's emblems, 1 of each, then you're going to win the game. So you'll also have that out there, and then you're going to have a deck that is going to be, that you'll construct before the game. All the players are going to have mostly similar decks, except for your 2 unique ability cards. And this deck is properly called a spell book. So the first thing that you're going to have in the spell book are 2 direction cards, clockwise and counterclockwise. So everyone's going to have these. So when you play one of your movement cards, that is going to determine which direction you're going in, because this is a programmed movement game, and I'll get back to that in a minute. And on that note, each player is going to have a set of movement cards from 1 to 6, so that will tell you how many spaces you're moving in conjunction with the counterclockwise or clockwise card to tell you what direction you're moving in. And I should also point out here that when I say a deck of cards representing your spellbook, that deck will never be shuffled or anything. You simply pick up the deck and choose the card or cards that you want out of the deck. Each player is also going to have the same set of 12 basic action cards. These are things like Throw, where during your combat you can KO a target at a range of 5 or 6 spaces. Counterattack, if you're attacked you can KO both and give the opponent an emblem token of your choice and then take one of their emblem tokens if you can hold it. Lunge, during your combat you can KO a target at a range of 1 space. Dash, during your turn you move your movement plus 2 spaces. And lock. At reveal, all realms are locked, and this cannot be countered. So that's just an example of some of the cards in your basic action deck. And then lastly, as I said, each player is going to have 2 unique abilities that are also detailed on your character sheet. Just to run through these of the characters that I have out on the table. You have Freya's, which are Disenchant. This is immediately, which means it happens as soon as cards are revealed. Counter all opponents' ability cards. Scry, during your turn, retrieve all of your own emblem tokens from all opponents. Then you have Certs. You have Inferno, which says skip your movement step. During your combat, you KO all targets range 2 in both directions. Flaming Sword, during your combat, you knock out 4 spaces, 2 targets in one direction. Hammer, this is for Thor's cards. During your combat, KO all targets, range 2 in both directions. Lightning, at reveal, KO all targets, range 1 from all home realm spaces. So this happens after immediately, since it says at reveal. This is Fenrir's cards. Darkness, remove your player token from the game board. Return your player token to the same space at the start of your turn. And Trample, during your turn, KO all targets, range movement path. So, once you familiarize yourself with all the cards, then you're ready to start. But you have to do a couple of important things first. The first thing you need to do is determine initiative. So, one player randomly, however you decide to do it, is going to become the first player for this round. And then on future rounds, that is going to pass clockwise around the table, so everyone's going to have a shot at being the initiative player. Then you also need to determine which ability cards you're actually going to use during the game. You cannot use every single ability card I just went over. Instead, you have to pick 6 of the total of 14. That's 12 basic cards plus your 2 unique cards that your character has access to. So everyone chooses the 6 that they want to use simultaneously, flips them over, and tells all the other players which cards they chose for the game, and then you're ready to begin. So here's how the turns are going to work. Players are simultaneously going to choose 3 cards from their spell book. You're going to choose an ability card, a movement card, and a direction card. You'll simultaneously pick these cards, put them face down, and then whoever's the initiative player says, okay, everyone locked in? Everyone's locked in. And then you will simultaneously reveal those 3 cards. The first thing you want to look for are any immediate abilities on the ability cards. Any of those that say play immediately, you do those right away and resolve those. Then you have the win reveal abilities, which take place right after the play immediately abilities. Once you resolve all of those, it goes back to the initiative player, and then in turn order, you resolve the actions on your cards. So for instance, right here, let's say that Freya is the initiative player, so she's going to go first. I chose dash, counterclockwise, and 2 for my movement card. So what that means is that I'm going to go counterclockwise and move 2. This would be counterclockwise, duh. And these are the spaces out here, which, by the way, have like names of books and things like that. I thought I'd point that out. So I'm going to move 2 on those spaces. And then what my dash card says is that I can, during your turn, your movement plus 2 spaces. So I get to go in additional 2 spaces. On the other hand, when he gets back around to Cert may say, well, I knew you were going to come after my realm, and his ability card might be Lock, which locks his realm down from anyone else entering it and stealing one of his emblems, and he might have chosen to do a move 2 as well in a clockwise direction. Now, if he did that, if anyone lands during their turn in their movement on another player's space where their pawn is, then that immediately knocks out their pawn. They are allowed to, that player who knocked them out is allowed to take one of the emblems that they retain if they can possibly hold that emblem. If they still, you can't have more than one of the same player's emblem. And then that player who got knocked out has to be forced to return back to their realm. But at the same time, when it gets, Fenrir might have, let's say that on the following round, now that Cert is all the way over there and Fenrir gets to act first in the next rounds, or he'll get to act sooner than Cert, I should say, Fenrir might decide to use his movement and do the movement 6, which lets him move all the way into Cert's realm, which if Cert can't get back to it first, it's going to be undefended, and that allows him to take one of Cert's emblems cards, so now he is one step closer to victory. But just remember, at the same time, it's not all about movement and just trying to land on people's spaces. You also have all these crazy ability cards which can do things like knock people out at a distance, or you can actually steal emblems from them just through special effects. Remember that cards like Freya's cards let her take her emblems back. So there's a lot of different things you can do in order to mess with your opponents and to get the upper hand on them. The other thing to note is that you don't get to get... once you've used cards, they go into your discard pile. All of your cards will reset once you've gone through every one of your movement cards. At that point, all of your cards go back into your spellbook and you can use them again. But until that point, if you use, for example, your ability cards, whether they're the basic ability cards or your unique abilities, you don't get them back. And that is mainly the game. You are trying to collect all of your opponent's emblems, so that if once you have all 3 of those emblems, if you can maintain them until the end of the rounds, once everyone has taken their turn, then you are going to be the winner, which is, of course, easier said than done. There's a few other details, but that's the gist of it. That is Be Legend Ragnarok. Let's get to my final thoughts. Be Legend Ragnarok has a very interesting theme, and it's easy to imagine that with future releases and future expansions that they could do even more with this and have all kinds of fictitious and real heroes from throughout history appear in the game, sort of like a Duel of Ages type scenario. So there, right then and there, it has that going for it. When you combine that together with the graphic design and the artwork, that really helps to bring that theme to the forefront. And then going into the gameplay itself, which ties into the backstory of the game of fighting in this arena, it really gives you a lot of customizable options. So every time that you play the game, you're going to have this basic starting deck of cards and then a couple of unique cards depending on the character that you choose to play as, but then you can customize that to your liking. You're only going to choose so many of those ability cards, and invariably they're going to be different from what your opponents are able to choose or will choose. And you do it simultaneously and secretly, so no one can really anticipate fully what you're planning on doing. But you just have to use what you have, the knowledge that you have at the beginning of the game, in order to react to the different cards that your opponents may or may not play. And going back a second, I do like the fact that you have those couple of unique ability cards, that you are different than all of the other players, that you feel distinct, and that your strategies are going to be different based on that. And the idea that it's the pre-programmed action that every round, every turn, from turn to turn of the game, you are always trying to outthink and outwit your opponent and figure like, okay, I'm here and they're here and I have to make sure that they don't land on me, but I also want to go for their emblem. And, who's going to be able to get there first? Should I go in the opposite direction, knowing that I'm going to be going before the player who's controlling cert, or should I decide to just maybe retreat for now and go back and protect, or play a lock card, protect my realm? All these different things are what you have to take into consideration, and it makes the game, at the forefront, it is easy to understand, easy to learn, easy to get going. At the same time, it is strategic. You do have a lot of decisions to make constantly throughout the course of the game, always trying to outthink your opponent. So in that regard, because of the theme and the ease of play, it's going to appeal to a lot of people who are just casual gamers, but on the other hand, people who are into more advanced, complex games can still find something to sink their teeth into here. And again, who doesn't like playing as the gods of Norse mythology? It seems to be as popular now as it ever was, and for good reason. And if you're one of the people who thinks that this game is going to appeal to you for some or all or even more reasons than that, I encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page. I'm going to have the link at the bottom of your screen now, and then down in the description section of the video, that will take you to the official Kickstarter project page. Find out more information and hopefully consider backing the project. That is Be Legend Ragnarok from designer Mark Laufer. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.